my name is Jay and welcome to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today we're back in Ålesund Arctic Wildlife Park. Now in the last episode of Ålesund, I said that would be the last episode of Ålesund. Clearly, I lied. So I didn't actually expect to be doing this new episode today. Basically, I came up with an idea that I really wanted to do for Ålesund, and I thought it would be a great way to wrap things up, because I kind of want to do a second season, so to speak, of Ålesund in the future. So I thought, you know what, this will be like a season 1 finale, so to speak. Just one kind of final set of build, and then a bunch of cinematics which will showcase most of the park as a whole, all the different types of work we've done so far, all the animals we have in the park, and I think that will kind of just really bring things together in one final big episode. So I do hope you enjoy this one. Let's get into it. So the main build that we're going to be doing in this episode is a steam train. A sort of pseudo railway, so to speak, that kind of encircles the whole park with 4 different stations. I thought we needed a good transport system, and I was like, yeah, a steam train really works for this park. It has that rustic vibe that most of Ålesund already has, and I just love the look of the steam train. The supports for the tracks are really cool. They're very wooden, very rustic. And same goes for the train itself. I think it just really fits with this park, aesthetically speaking. I really hesitated on putting it in though, because I am not particularly familiar with transport systems in the game. Because they're very much directly taken from Planet Coaster, Frontier's previous game. And I played Planet Coaster a little bit, but I could never really get to grips with building roller coasters or transport systems, because the track systems are very delicate and very intricate, and there is a lot of knowledge I think you need to have to really do them right. And of course I'm more, like, my background's all in ecology, biology, animals, etc. I've not got that kind of mechanical or engineering type background to really understand how these things work. And so when you look at this particular railway that I did build, some things are going to seem a bit off. I'm not entirely sure about like how to make the inclines realistic. I try to make them as gradual as possible, but again, not sure how they would work in real life. But I do think by the end of this, they turned out looking pretty cool. They may not be the most realistic things in the world, but I am super proud of them. I think they look really nice, and they really fit the aesthetic of the park. So let's go over the railway system. We have 4 stations situated at different points of the park. The first station starts near the entrance right by the doll sheep habitat. The second station is on the far side of the reindeer habitat, so facing the open plains. The third station is on the... where is that? It's on the west side of the park. So again, facing the open plains, right next to where one of the tunnels ends and kind of where the wolf habitat is. And then the track curves inwards, and the final station, station 4, is right next to our food court building, the round food court building. And that one is my favorite station because it's built into the side of a cliff. Being the cliff that separates the polar bear habitat from the rest of the park. And I think it looks so cool once I'm done with it, and I'll explain what I actually did. And then the train track goes across the barrier between the doll sheep and the polar bear habitat, and finally connects right back down to station 1, closing the loop. So let's go over the stations one by one. So first station is station 1, and what I did for that is, it's a pretty straightforward station. It's slightly elevated, and I have a staircase system and a ramp system because, like I said in a previous video, I like all my parks to be wheelchair accessible, so we have both stairs and a ramp. And then the entire thing is enclosed within a building, again built in a very similar style to all the other buildings. Arctic wood, the darker Arctic beams that kind of give a nice finish to the whole thing. Those peaked roofs, I'm not sure what they're called, the ones that kind of curve up to a point, we use those. And we have some signs up front that tell you which station it is. That's kind of the vibe I'm going for with all these different stations, but each one is quite different, so as we go along you'll see what I mean. And then we're going to go over to station 2 and 3, which are the kind of more low-key stations. I believe station 2 is somewhat elevated, and you have again a ramp and a stair system. Very much basic, quite a basic station. Station 3 is the most basic because it's at ground level, so you don't even have a ramp or stairs. And station 4 is my absolute favorite, and it took me the longest amount of time. Station 4 is built directly against a cliff, and it's maybe about 20 meters off the ground, so it's extremely high up. I did this on purpose because I wanted to see what I could do with the elevation. And what ended up happening was I had to create so many different path systems. So we have stairs that kind of spiral downwards, that's the word I was looking for. Is it the word I'm looking for? Okay, it spirals downwards, but the path has square edges, so it's a square spiral, if that makes any sense. And I did the same thing for the ramp system, which required a lot more length. So as you see in the video, I don't know if it's on right now or later on, but you'll see that the ramps were actually quite tricky to put in place. And then, once again, I covered everything in the Arctic wood, and I created quite a nice open plan, I think. So essentially, the main body of the station is all enclosed in wood and glass. But when it comes to the stairs and the ramps, they are a little bit further out from the main building. And it's all kind of exposed beams, so it's all these dark wood beams that support it, but they're all exposed. And I think that kind of makes it look really cool, very modern, it's again a mixture between the modern and the rustic, which seems to be my favorite style in any of my parks. I do think it looks so cool. It just has such a appropriate vibe for this place. And then continuing on with the path system, one of the paths actually goes under the tracks and up the cliff, which is quite cool, I think. And at the top of the cliff, you have a secret viewpoint that shows you where the polar bears are. And I think that is so dope because I love the idea of a secret viewpoint. Like maybe you're in another part of the park and you look across the polar bear habitat and you're like, that looks like a viewpoint. How do I get there? And then you spend like a bunch of time trying to figure out how to get to that point. And you realize, okay, this is how I get there. And when you get to the top, it's going to be more quiet because a lot of people don't know about it. And you're going to get such a good view of the polar bears and you're going to be like, this is so cool. So that was kind of my idea. I just love the concept of like a few viewpoints that are not explicitly advertised on the maps or anything. So you kind of have to like find your way there yourself. And when you do, it's usually a bit more quiet. So really like that idea. And I think it came out looking so cool. Very happy with it. Again, because I'm building at such weird elevations, I had to learn a lot of different, had to end up doing a lot of different techniques. So with some of these stairs, I used the Arctic wood pieces to kind of build in support for them. Sometimes I will use rocks, so it looks like the stairs were built on top of pre-existing rocks. And of course I had to introduce a lot of foliage to make everything blend together really well. And when it comes to foliage, again I'm still using the same sort of foliage palette that I've been using this whole park. Lots of diamond leaf willow bushes and white sage bushes, those are two that work best together. But specifically within this episode, I learned a new technique which I really love. And that's using the Himalayan pine, no, not the Himalayan pine, Himalayan birch? The shorter white barked tree with the bright green leaves, which kind of, it's really spindly, I'm not sure what it's called, I think it's Himalayan birch. Anyways, I used that and I sink it really low into the ground so you only see the tops of the branches and the leaves. And I rotate it around itself to create really nice bushes that look perfect for the sides of mountains and the cliff sides. So those ended up being added to a lot of the pre-existing foliage. I think it really helps the look of all these cliffside elements, because it just looks like way too bare sometimes when you don't have the right foliage in place. And this particular birch, I think it's a birch, I'm not sure, but it's one of my favorite trees in the game regardless, and having used it in this way, I'm like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. This tree is now like even more my favorite tree in the game. It's like extra favorite. But yeah, that's super fun. Maybe I should make a top 10 foliage list. Nah, I'm not. I don't know anything about trees. I'm not a botanist by any stretch of the imagination. So I will preclude myself from doing that. But I will make a foliage tutorial at some point, so keep an eye out for that. Back to what we're doing today. Like I said, Station 4 is definitely my favourite. But when it comes to the track itself, aside from the stations, I found that a bit trickier to do. I'm not super aware of, like I mentioned before, I'm not really aware of the delicate kind of mechanical things at play here, so I tried my best to keep all the inclines very gradual, try my best to add in extra supports here and there. So for example, wherever it rises and drops, I try to add some rocks and stuff to make it look like it was built into a pre-existing kind of a landform, so it's not just purely the wooden supports. In the end, I think just with the default supports that it has in the game, those look so good, and they look like they really do support the track that we're using. So I think at the end it did come out like looking relatively realistic. I don't know if I'd say realistic, but it looks like it could work, and that was the main thing I was aiming for. So at the end of the day, very happy with the train track, and seeing the train actually go across it is so much fun. Because the train, I colored it to again match the theme, and it just looks so good going through the park. One of the things I did again next to Station 4 that I really liked is I made a big sign that says Ålesund Arctic Wildlife Park, and kind of put it right on the cliff face. I put it in such a way that you can see it from the ground, but it's not super clear. The best way and the ideal way to see it is that when you are on the train and you're pulling into the station, it's right next to you on the cliff in like huge font, so you're just like, oh cool, that, you know, there's a sign there that maybe you didn't notice before. And I think it looks really cool. I also added some wolf statues there to just kind of add to the effect. I think it works. As far as how the animals react to the train, I actually kept the train very far away from most of the habitats. In fact, the only time it crosses a habitat is when the track goes over the barrier between the doll sheep and the polar bears. Because you wouldn't want transport vehicles to be super close to animals. You don't want them to be disturbed by all the noise or the steam. But you do have a little bit of crossover here, and even then, it's still pretty far away from the animals, so I think it works out quite okay. Like, when it comes to the animals that we have so far, I'm really quite happy with their habitats. They all have so much space, way more than you would see in a regular zoo. So that kind of makes me happy, because obviously in an ideal situation, in zoos all animals would get as much space as they want. So building something where all the animals have way more than their, preset requirements just kind of makes me happy in a certain way. I know it sounds a little bit stupid, but it just does. It's nice to see that, oh cool, the wolves have like an entire forest to themselves, or the reindeer have a whole meadow, or the polar bears have like an entire lake basically, and the doll sheep have literally their own mountain, which is pretty cool. That doll sheep habitat actually is still probably one of my favorites in this park. Although all the builds in this park have ended up being some of my favorites ever, the doll sheep specifically holds a really special place in my heart, because I think that's when I really learned how to do rock work really well. The animals themselves are pretty cool. Doll sheep were my favorite from this Arctic DLC, which is all the animals that we have in this park basically from the Arctic DLC. So the doll sheep were my favorite, and this habitat specifically always stands out to me. Feel free to give that a watch if you haven't already. I would recommend catching up on the Ålesund series. There's only 4 episodes, and this one's the last for season 1, so yeah, feel free to go back and have a watch of all the previous episodes, and you can see how my build style has improved since the first episode. Like when we did the polar bear episode, I wasn't that good with rock work and build styles and stuff like that. And you can really see me improve as we go along, and that makes me so happy. Because I know that my style, well, I know that I have developed a style basically. I like the whole rustic meets modern kind of thing for architecture. So that's mainly what I end up doing. And when it comes to the natural elements, I do use very specific types of rock work, very specific foliage palettes. But I wasn't super developed when I first started. I didn't have like a matured palette of rocks or foliage. And across this series, I feel like I've really learned so much. Not just by practicing, but by watching other Planet Zoo YouTubers, checking out the Planet Zoo subreddit where people post all their builds. I'm just learning more and more. And I do think it's really cool to watch like the evolution of my style. So definitely check those out if you want. And just as a tip for anyone who's building in Planet Zoo and wants to learn how to get better, my tip is basically twofold. There's two things you should do. One is practice, build all the time, build whatever you like. You know, it doesn't have to be a full zoo, just kind of build buildings here and there, or build a natural rock formation once in a while. Just kind of practice like that. And secondly, which is I think just as important, is to check out what other people are building. Everyone who plays this game has a very different build style. So definitely watch other people's YouTube videos or what people post in the subreddit or the Discord. So definitely check all those out, and there's such good inspiration and you can learn new techniques. So I highly recommend that if anyone's interested in learning how to build a little bit more, a little bit better basically across time. But yeah, it all comes with practice and from learning from others as well. Now that's mainly all I have to say for this current part of the video. I will leave you with the footage and I will return a few minutes before the end. I'll see you then. Hiya, I'm back. Did I scare you? Hopefully not. Anyways, we're coming kinda to the end of the video. I really hope you've enjoyed watching all this. I really had such a blast making all of this stuff. Ålesund again some of my best builds I've ever done, and I'm super happy with that. Very proud of, the stuff I've done. And I do hope people have enjoyed Ålesund. I know some of them have had really good reception. People seem to really like the doll sheep habitat, which again makes me super happy because that's my favorite one. Is it really though? Yeah, totally is my favorite, but like for example the wolf habitat, I love that. And the reindeer meadow, again really nice. The waterfalls. Speaking of which, I did in fact add a second small waterfall in this episode. And anyone who knows even the slightest bit about geography or geology or waterology? Aquology? What's that called? The study of water. That is totally a thing though. I have no idea. But basically anyone who knows anything about how water works knows that this water system makes no sense. So, don't come for me in the comments. Let's just assume that this is an artificial water body, and let's leave it at that. Basically, it just doesn't make sense, but it looks nice, so that was what I was going for. And, what was I going with this? I was totally going to say something, and I cannot for the life of me remember. But yeah, like I said, I have really enjoyed my time in Ålesund. And Ålesund Arctic Wildlife Park will be up on the Steam Workshop as of uploading this video. So feel free to play in that park, There's still lots of space to build. I would recommend within the path system that I've already put down, there's still space for habitats. And here's my challenge to you. If you want to play Ålesund as a full park, stick to just the Arctic theme and a couple other themes. You wouldn't believe how much it frees up your creativity to be limited in what you can use, because then you have to think a bit harder about how to build and stuff like that. But of course, this is just recommendation. Feel free to do whatever you like in the park. If you like any of the buildings specifically, feel free to just select them and make them into blueprints for your own parks. Entirely fine with that. Feel free to do that. I was going to upload the buildings separately, but they're not all intact, so to speak, as in they're not all in one group. So I would suggest that if you go into the park, just kind of select everything with the multi-select tool as opposed to the just clicking on it, and then you can make them into blueprints for your own park. So have fun with that. I really do hope you guys enjoy playing with Ålesund. I have had a lot of requests to put in the workshop, so whoever has requested, here you go. And I hope you really do enjoy it. I've had a lot of recently quite good feedback on my videos and on my tutorial I did last week. I expect another tutorial that's going to come out soon. It'll be the intermediate rock tutorial. Like I said, I did get a lot of really good critique and feedback, so I will change a few things to make it a bit more coherent and have a bit more, basically give you more technical tips, not as opposed to just the conceptual ones. So do look forward to that. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give me a like. Comment if you have any more ideas, questions or suggestions. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Tell me what you think about Ålesund as a whole. Do you like the habitats? Do you like the train system? There's all stuff I would absolutely love to hear from you guys. And please do leave me a subscribe if you like this content and you want to see more. We are at 87 subscribers as of me recording this, which is huge. I am so happy about that. That is so nice to know that, that many people enjoy this content. Makes me super happy and really, really like that. I assume we're going to be hitting 100 within the next couple of weeks or 3 weeks or something. And I've got a special video lined up for that, so keep an eye out. That'll be my 100 subscriber video where I'm doing quite a special build in Planet Zoo that I've been planning for a while. So keep an eye out for that when we hit 100. And just thank you all for watching so much. I hope you all have a really lovely day. And yeah, thanks for watching and bye-bye.